Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to Jazz Chats with Cool Cats, a virtual conversation concert series featuring esteemed drummer and host, KCH favorite and yours, Pete Siers. This series has been generously funded by seasoned underwriter, Bank of Ann Arbor. This presentation is free, but please consider supporting our world-class artists and our Carytown Concert House by making your own gift at carytownconcerthouse.com/donate. Enjoy the program.
In a mellow tone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jazz Chats. Really happy to get our special guest here, Dennis Wilson on the trombone extraordinaire, and so happy that you can do this, Dennis. I want to introduce the other guys in the band. That's Adam Mosley on the piano over there, Shannon Wade on the bass, Alex Belhaj on the guitar. Yes. So, we hope that you have been checking out this series. It's been a super exciting event for me, and it's been very different. We had Dr. Alberto Nassif, great rombero, and we had guys playing traditional Cuban rumba here last time, and this is very different. And so, Dennis, thank you so much for joining us. You're going to grab that mic. You're going to have to get right up on that. And so there's a lot to talk about. Dennis is a resident in our area here, and my reasoning for not only is he just a tremendous player, educator, composer, arranger, he's just got so much energy, and it comes out on the bandstand really, and it's really a pleasure to be on stand with you whenever is possible. And so I want to just also say, before we get going, thank you to the Bank of Ann Arbor, who is really going to bat for Carytown Concert House and allowing things to progress as we can safely. And anyway, let's get right to it, Dennis. Let's talk about, I want to ask you a question about what was your hook in jazz? Like, what got you? What was it about jazz, and how did you hear it, and how were you affected?
That goes back to my parents. It really goes back to my parents. And when I was a kid, boy, when I was in the 8th grade, and there was always a piano in the house, always. I don't know if anybody really played it, but my mother had a piano there, and I used to bang around it. And I started on. I wanted to play a tenor saxophone, and it was in the middle of my 8th grade year. And went in and said, "Hey," went the band director. "Hey, you got any? I'm going to play tenor sax." He says, "We're all out of tenor saxes." Well, what do you have? Well, we got some tubas and we got some trombones. And so he took tubas, that big thing. It was the one sitting about a wall, and a trombone's that thing that goes like this, So I said, "Oh, give me that." When I took it home, I could play it. And the jazz part, because my father brought, you probably know this, Basie plays hefty.
Oh, yes.
That he brought
Yes.
3 albums home. Basie plays hefty, J.J. Johnson in person, and and Glenn Miller.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to. He gave, "Hey, you like these CDs?" That's all he said. And I don't think he even knew who J.J. Johnson was, but he saw a trombone, and so he bought the album. It was an old album, and it was one of J.J.'s best albums. And so I started hearing jazz right from that point for the first time, and just digging it all the way. I was always digging it. So.
And so did you take lessons then? And
Yeah, I took lessons. So they gave me lessons. They put me with a group of guys that also started late, and I was with them for 1 lesson. And then they put me the next week. They put me with the 2 other guys that had been playing for a year, and I was with them for 1 lesson. And then the 3rd lesson was going to be by myself. And I don't know if you know Vincent DiMartino.
I do.
Yeah, well, I went to the same high school.
Oh, okay.
And Billy Drews and Glenn Drews, and these are all great players. And so their high school teacher came down to my junior high school because he was the director of the whole program. And he had to talk to him, and so he came in, and the band director, the guy giving me my lesson, had a phone call. And so he had to take the phone call. So the high school guy gave me the rest of the lesson. Needless to say, this guy was one of 2 trumpet players that was accepted to New England Conservatory. You could walk in and he could read, him and Vincent DiMartino used to walk in and say, page 38, and they would play the exercise on the Arbor book on page 38 from memory because they practiced it that much. So I had a good lesson from the right person and about breathing and all of the mechanics. And from that point forward, I was just taking off,
That was such an important piece right there.
Yeah, it was, And I went later when I joined Basie's band. Oh man, it's a long story. I got so many stories. But joining Count Basie's band, that's a part of it because I was with Lionel Hampton, and we were off. I was taking a vacation from Lionel Hampton. I guess I was off, and I came home, and then I said, the junior high school choral teacher needed a sub. They were auditioning people for the band to go in and do the choir. And so I said, I'm going to get that job because that choral director was so instrumental in me. He taught me so much stuff. He's like Manhattan School trained, So I said, well, I'm going to go get that job. And so I went down to this high school and said, I'm going to check out this job. And so the principal, I had to go before the principal, and the principal says to me, I saw your name on the list, and I gave you the interview because I didn't know if this guy was for real. He remembered me in junior high school. and I was a troublemaker. I was a serious troublemaker. Oh my goodness. And so he only says, I'm going to give you this interview because that's what he wanted to find out. And he looked at my career and what I'd done so far. I said, he says, I got the job.
Fantastic. And that says a lot about you and your character, like to give back, like right away.
That's what it was.
Right on, man.
Just what it was.
And those are, the teachers, I can say everybody up here on this bandstand has a story that is like that, where there was somebody that really took us and put us in, said, this is how it goes. And we all were in the right spot at that time.
You know what's good, too? They said to me, you got to practice. In fact, when I got the trombone, this band director said to me, well, you got to practice. But that was never a problem. You practice because you wanted to practice. And it's like work, but you just do it.
Right.
It's like people say, I would do this for free.
Yeah.
I would, but I won't do
it. Right. So so your formal education in college, you went to Berkeley.
Yep. Went to Berkeley College of Music, studied with Phil Wilson, who's he's ridiculous. He's just ridiculous. And I got in his band right away. And I was playing third trombone, and it was great, So Phil was very instrumental.
And so after Berkeley, then Lionel Hampton.
Yeah, so.
Let me ask you, how did you get the gig with Lionel Hampton?
So, I grew up in the right place because my high school band director that handled the jazz bands, his brother was Lionel Hampton's manager. And Lionel Hampton would come out to my high school to do like a concert for free. And we would invite as many people as the auditorium could hold, 750 or something like that. And so I got on Lionel Hampton's band that way, He said, I could play. And so I joined Lionel Hampton's band when I was a junior at Berkeley. And I did that summer. And then I went back and finished my degree, music education degree, like everybody else here. And and then so Lionel Hampton would fly me out every vacation, So and I had to read the third trumpet book. He had three trumpets.
Interesting.
Three trumpets: John Faddis, Larry Pyatt, and Glenn Drews. So these were the three trumpet players, and then a saxophone section. And then a rhythm section with an organ, of all things.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And did Lionel play drums and vibes?
He had the drum set set up. He would play some drums, but I got to play with Grady Tate.
Oh, yeah.
And Philly Joe Jones. It's amazing that the people that came through Lionel Hampton.
Yeah.
But Lionel was very instrumental in my career, if you can call it that. He's everybody had played with him, and his guitarist played left-hand guitar. So how's it? Yeah, it was facing that way, and totally strung upside down, and so that's how he played. And so he said to Bobby Plater of the Basie band, I'm gonna get you on the Basie band. My friend's Bobby, he'll get you on that band. And I said, yeah, that'd be nice to be on Lionel. It'd be nice to be on Lionel Hampton's band, but that's how I got on Broadway and all that kind of stuff, because I was working with Lionel Hampton, and he got called to do Bette Midler. So and we did a concert at Carnegie Hall. Lionel Hampton was Bette Midler's guest. And so I wrote some arrangements for Lionel Hampton. You may have played that Milestones arrangement, and wrote that. And and I got to meet all of these guys that were. It was a contract band, and so I met all these different players and all. And I'm just walking out Carnegie Hall for the first time in my life, and just conducting these guys, and then I left. It was great.
So there was hope that you could get in the Basie band, but it wasn't a done deal at this point.
No.
But it was coming.
It was, yeah, and I didn't act like you're going to be on the Basie band. Hey, I'm going to be on the Basie band, so you guys can stay here. It wasn't like that. Yeah. I met a whole lot of people. Jeff Hamilton. I got Jeff Hamilton on Lionel Hampton's band. And then we got to work together. In fact, I got so many stories. So anyway, I won't tell you that story. But you had the attitude of you were very pleased and happy to be on any band.
Oh, absolutely.
Any band. And so with Lionel Hampton, I was there for 3.5 years, two and a half as musical director, something like that, 2 years. And musical director sounds like, oh, he was the musical director. It's not a big job. It's basically you got to keep Lionel cool. And I would get Lionel to rehearse less, because he would rehearse he practiced that way. So he'd have a rehearsal before every gig, and he would rehearse for hours and hours, and you get to the gig, you got to rehearse, because he's keeping his chops up, and he likes to have a band. And so that's what we were doing, but it would be a little bit less, because I would take care. Okay, Lionel, we got to go.
You can make some friends like that too, Dennis.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to ask you about This is 1977, and March 4th, Carnegie Hall, Ray Charles.
Ray Charles. Yeah, so Ray Charles gave me a call because I don't know how he found out my name. You know, I never thought about that. But he gave me a call. I was in New York, and I wasn't working with Lionel or anything. And so I just had to play 2 shows. A trombone player, his first trombone player, you know, was, anyway, his first trombone player couldn't come back into New York. He did some bad things, and they were waiting for him to walk into New York until he'll be arrested. So, boom, boom. And so they called me to come to do the gig. And that's when, so then I met Ray Charles, and it was 2 shows that night. So in between shows, they said, you just come, we got a uniform for you. I put that on. I went on the stage, we played. On the break, I went across to a deli or something in New York, and I said, who's that guy? That guy looks like he was one of the guys in the band, because you couldn't see them. You couldn't see him so much, but you know, I met Johnny Coles.
Oh, I love Johnny Coles.
So he was, and then I learned that the Ray Charles band is Fat Albert.
Oh,
Fat
was
Albert.
Marcus Belgrave on the band at that time?
I don't remember, because I came in like boom, and everything was quick.
Sure.
I had to read,
Yeah.
and I thought it was weird they had me read the lead parts on something that I couldn't really see the music, and I couldn't, you know. The other guy knows the part. So,
Sure, but you just do it.
I just read. I was into reading big time.
Sure.
So that's all I could do.
Okay. I want to just ask you about a couple more. So that was the Ray Charles, your first time.
That was Ray Charles. Yep.
And then Red Skeleton.
Red Skeleton. You remember him, Red Skeleton?
I loved him.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness, the mime and all that stuff.
Sure.
And I was late that day because I had to take my motorcycle into Carnegie Hall because my car blew a head gasket. I remember I was like, whoa! And I said, I got to get there. And I was late to that rehearsal, and they were all on the stage, and you know, the orchestra. It was like an orchestra. And Red Skeleton's first concert in 20 years, and I think it was 20 years. And I just read music, and then it was over. And but that was one of the most beautiful concerts I've ever played.
That's awesome. So I want to get into the Basie years. You spent 10 years with Count Basie.
Right. And the first one was a week after Red Skeleton, on March 18th, 1977.
Where were you?
Carnegie Hall. Carnegie Hall, and they called me for the Basie band, and that was his 3rd time calling me, because you know, Basie's not calling 4 times. so I went to give back to my school and my students and to my teachers. I signed a contract, came home, and the phone rings. Literally, the phone rings that afternoon, and I think it was a Friday, and it's the Basie band calling me to do a gig, to offer me the job, and I just signed a contract, and I said, look, I just signed a contract, I can't do it. And then they called me back a year later, and I said to the school, bye.
So what was it like to work with Count Basie? I mean,
Basie was as you perceive him. Such a nice man, such a warm person. He could talk to anybody. Kings and queens, Lord Mayors of, I remember the meeting of Lord Mayor of Oslo, and all of these dignitaries would come and see to all of our concerts. Princess Margaret, she would come to the concerts. You know, it was just amazing to see. Presidents, you know, you don't, when Count's in, you don't mess around.
Love it.
You know.
Love it. How did he direct the band? I mean, obviously, he seemed very soft-spoken.
Yes, he's very soft-spoken, and he would direct the band with like little movements with his fingers, because he always had a musical director, and which would be one of the saxophones. And so, but Basie would start the tempos and most songs, and he would cut the band off, just like that, boom, little things like that, and we're just watching him, you know. But at the same time, he's such a nice guy, such an easygoing person. But he's also a very strong individual. He knows what he wants, and you can't pull anything over him. His eyes is like he's like a hawk. And I remember watching. We had a trumpet player, and this guy was from L.A. and he was like one of the top guys in the studio. He could read, he could play, good range. He was coming on a lead, and Basie, he lasted just one day, you know. And I mean, because you could tell he had the wrong attitude, and that Basie wasn't going to take that kind of an attitude in his band. But Basie also fired a person, and I wasn't there for this, but he fired a guy one time while he was warming up. So the guys just got hired. He's warming up to go out on the stage to read the book and all that, because you had to read the book. It's the only way. There's no rehearsal for you know. And so he's listening to this guy play, and Basie goes over to Sonny Cohen, the manager, and says, "Sonny, hey, give me somebody else." "Okay, I'll get you anybody." Yeah, this guy's, I don't know. Yeah.
So he didn't play the.
He played the gig because he was already there, but that was it.
Whew.
That was it. They paid him for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They're required to give you 2-week notice. He gave him 2-week notice, and
Sure.
And that's it. That's it.
Yeah. Fascinating experience.
Yeah.
And we could go on and on with these stories, which I want to do at a later time, but this is really great to hear. Very interesting. You got a job at Kansas State. You taught there. This is in the 90s, right? Mid-90s?
Yeah, I went there to be the guest artist on that festival. And on the way back to the airport, they offered me a job.
Oh, fantastic.
So I said, I was going to get a job in New York, the New York area, because you don't leave New York. It's the height of your career. And so, that was it. I started to go to Kansas State and do it.
And then the year 2000, you got the job here at Michigan.
Yeah. And this has been a joy. And I got the job because Ed Sareth, the fantastic trumpet player, he was the director of the program. And in the job description, Ed Sareth wrote, rather than us ask a person to come here that can do this, we want to know what that person wants to do. What do you want to bring to the university? And I said, whoa. It was because I was looking at around the country, and I didn't know that much about Michigan. I knew they had some funny helmets on the football team. And it wasn't my first time in Ann Arbor, because my first time in Ann Arbor was Count Basie and Ella Fitzgerald at Hill Auditorium. So that's my first time in Ann Arbor, and we went right back to Detroit, because, I came in and checked it out, and wow, it's a very nice
And
program.
so, we get to see you with your students. You bring them out here and there to the clubs to play. So I want to encourage, if you see Dennis, if you know he's going to bring his kids out, check it out, because it's quite a fascinating experience. And you lead Jazz 2, the
second big band.
and also an ensemble for non-majors as well.
Yeah, my improvisation class.
Yes.
We met today online.
Right.
And so I got them, and I got a jazz trombone choir.
Oh, fantastic.
So 12 trombones, and I write music for them, because you can't go into the store and buy a jazz trombone. So.
And you've also done a lot of other things outside of the university that you're really great at, like the Detroit Jazz Festival Orchestra.
Yeah, and that had a good drummer, a guy named Pete.
And we had some great times with
that was a fantastic band.
Oh my gosh.
It's just,
a cavalcade that I will never forget. Jimmy Heath.
Yeah.
Randy Brecker.
Yep.
Manhattan Transfer.
Regina Carter. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the transfer was. Oof.
Yeah.
And then the double bands.
Yeah.
And then the trombone choir. Remember, I put the trombones in front of us on the stage.
Yes.
They said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I know. But it was amazing. And
Yeah.
nobody had done that before.
I know. I said I wanted to. My vision was that Detroit needs to have something for the people, something different every year, and so I had, and that's what it was about, you know. So I wrote that music myself, and it just featured everybody. Jerry Allen, Bob Hurst played it. Rodney Whitaker,
Chris McBride.
We did the album with Chris McBride. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we could go on and on, but I hope for those of you that are watching this stream, you can get a sense of Dennis's energy. It's infectious. It's totally fun to be on the bandstand with, and he plays like very much like himself, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, Dennis, thank you so much for participating and keeping what we got going here and putting your energy on it. We really appreciate that.
Sounds good.
And we hope that you enjoy this series, and especially today. Tell your friends about it, and hope that maybe you would consider making a contribution in lieu of a ticket to attend such an event like that. That's how the doors are staying open. I want to thank Monica and Abby and John today, our tech people, and making this all happen. Once again, I want to introduce the cats on the bandstand. That's Adam Mosley on the piano over there, Alex Belhaj on guitar, Shannon Wade on the bass, myself, Pete Siers, and again, gratitude to Dennis Wilson. We're going to conclude today with a tune written by J.J. Johnson, fantastic trombonist, extraordinaire composer, and Dennis wrote an arrangement for us to play on Lament.
Here we go. And 1, 2, 2.
Thank you for joining us for Live at the 415. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to read about upcoming live-streamed concerts and subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about our newest videos and upcoming live streams. Have a good evening.